Good day to all the viewers at home, and welcome to a new thing brought to you by the Global Business Roundtable. My name is Sipho Mseleku, the convener of the Global Business Roundtable and your host for today. The Global Business Roundtable, also known as GBR, is a Christ-centered organization. GBR is a multi-denominational, multicultural, and multiracial organization focusing on the holistic development of its members in line with God's purpose for their lives. GBR focuses on the kingship of Christ and not only on the priesthood of Christ. It encourages its members not only to influence and take over the spiritual mountain, but also other sectors of society, such as education, economy and finance, science and technology, sports, arts and culture, politics and governance, and also deals with family and societal issues. The name of the show is taken from the book of Isaiah 43, verse 18 to 19. Forget the former things. Do not dwell in the past. See, I am doing a new thing. It springs forth. Do you not perceive it? Today we are discussing the topic on business and funding opportunities for young entrepreneurs. Our panelists will unpack this topic for us and tell us about the opportunities that are available and the challenges that young entrepreneurs starting businesses and growing their businesses face out there. But before we get into our subject matter, I will introduce our panelists. Starting from my extreme left, we've got Mr. Lot Magosha. He's the founder and CEO of Hill City Group. Welcome, Mr. Magosha. And next to him, we have Ms Eudia Ndaba. She's an attorney at Ndaba HE Incorporated. Welcome, madam. And then on my right, immediate right, I have Madam Thato Monanyane. She's a managing director of Organofied. Welcome. Thank you, madam. And then on my extreme right, I have Mr. Celumusa Dlamini. She's an entrepreneur from Swaziland involved in technology company. Welcome. Thank you very much. Before we start our program, I'm going to give you a minute each to briefly introduce yourself, tell us about who you are, what you do, and highlights of your career or of your business life.
Good day, everyone. Thanks, sir. To introduce myself, my name is Lot Magosha. I'm the founder and CEO of Hill City Group. We deal with business advisory. We help people raise funding, and we also have an arm in our business to invest in other small business opportunities that we see that they are in the space that we want to play in.
Thank you very much, Mr. Magosha. Madam?
My name is Ms Eudia Ndaba. I'm a director at Ndaba HE Incorporated and a co-director at Ndaba Legal Collectors. On the law firm, we deal with the legal side of things. On the collecting firm, we deal with debt collection and tracing. Okay. The law firm started in 2014. We focus a lot on medical malpractice and road accident fund matters and other legal issues like civil litigation and corporate commercial law. Okay.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Madam.
Good day, everyone. My name is Thato, as introduced, and I'm the managing and creative director of Organofied Design Practice. Basically, what we do is that we're an interior and architectural design firm, as well as manufacturing. So we design, we manufacture, we install construction fit-outs for shop fitting components as well. And the company has been trading for the past 6 years now. And yeah, that's basically, in a nutshell, that's what we do.
Wow, thank you very much. Mr. Dlamini.
Good day, viewers. My name is Celumusa Dlamini. I'm founder of Netstorm Technologies, which is an IT solutions providing company, which we started when I was still at university. And I'm also co-founder in a company called TIM Group, which stands for Teach, Inspire, and Motivate, which is a company that basically deals with 3 issues, which is education, which is entrepreneurship and personal development.
Wow. Thank you very much. I think we've got the right people to address the kinds of questions that young people and young entrepreneurs in particular face out there. Let's get straight to it. What is an entrepreneur? And what are the characteristics of a good entrepreneur? and what makes entrepreneurs successful out there. We know that there are many people who start businesses, young and old, but very few succeed. What makes many people fail, and what makes a few succeed? And what are the challenges that young people face when they want to start their businesses or when they're growing their businesses? And I'm sure you've experienced some of them, and you can be able to share. And the issues of gender, is the space of entrepreneurship sensitive to gender issues, women who work and when they start their businesses, and what obstacles do they face when women get into business, if any? Who want to start? Okay, maybe we should start with you, Mr. Magosha.
Thanks for the question. Just to begin with the first one as to what is an entrepreneur. For me, an entrepreneur is someone who looks for opportunities, commercialize them, create employment, and actually solve the problem that exists. What I've identified or seen in my experience is that some of the entrepreneurs struggle, first of all, because that their vision for their business is not very clear. It's not well written. They are attracted by anything, anywhere, and they end up chasing so many things at the same time, and they find that they are 10% complete on everything, but they haven't accomplished anything. And the other biggest challenge for entrepreneurs, even though they have good ideas that can be bankable, is because they cannot access funding. Not because there's no funding, but because they don't know the how behind the procedures.
We'll come back to that. So the key things that you've said was that you need a vision and you need to focus and not to be everywhere. You need to understand why you're starting a business and of course to know why you're starting that business. And in other words, you must assess the opportunity and the market and know that the product or service that you want to offer has a need, there's a demand for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My take is that if you're not solving a problem, you probably don't have a business. And if you're trying to solve a business that someone is solve a problem that someone has already solved, you are probably just following on someone's footsteps. You do not have something genuine and
unique,
very unique, that you're trying to bring to the space.
Thank you. We'll come back to you, Your Excellency.
Thank you, sir. To me, an entrepreneur is someone who spot an opportunity in any field and be able to identify the gap, because in every industry there is a gap. And then find out as to how do you fit in to try and close that gap. And an entrepreneur is someone who, after spotting this opportunity, you have to fearlessly pursue them. I'm intentionally using the word fearlessly. I'm using the word fearless because there are a lot of things, particularly when you are a black child and you have a dream and you stand up and say, this is what I want to do. People will ask you a lot of questions, which have, in fact, they are rhetoric questions because they have answers in them that says, you cannot make it, you're not good enough, your background is not good enough, you're not equipped enough. And you need to be fearless and pursue that dream against all odds. That's an entrepreneur for me.
Yeah.
In fact, that's what makes an entrepreneur.
You must never give up, and you must not be put off by other people who tell you, you can't. Your Excellency.
Look, I've learned that there's two kinds of entrepreneurs, one that's made and one that is born with it. And I found that in the cycle that we've been in, or in South Africa as a whole, there's not a lot of entrepreneurs that are born with it, or rather that are nourished. When they are born with it, they are nourished enough to grow up and become entrepreneurs. There's a lot of things that stand in the way of those that are made and born with it. And for me, I'm a made entrepreneur. I don't believe that I was born with it. I believe that I was born with a skill and a talent. And as I grew, and I became independent from a very young age. And I've started a lot of businesses, and they failed along the way. And this one clinched to me because it related to my career path. I wanted to design. I wanted to study design. From a young age, I've been designing. And it bows back to what your parents instill in you. My parents were entrepreneurs. And they, you know, as much as they said to me, no, go to school, go accomplish what you need to at school. But at the same time, you know, it's within you that, you know, that drive that pushes you to go out and become an entrepreneur. And the only thing that sustains you is your emotional stability as well as spiritual stability, because without those two, you'll fail regardless. You know, you won't have that, you know, that fearless character and personality to go out and thrive. So one needs to choose what sort of entrepreneur they are.
You want to be.
And want to be, you know, and there's various types. There's entrepreneurs that are technical, there's entrepreneurs that are, you know, social entrepreneurs, and you need to choose why, what's your purpose, why are you here, what do you want to achieve, and, you know, are you in it for the money, are you in it for the glory, are you in it to, you know, educate others? So you need to decide which path,
It's
and it makes a lot of a difference on your
That's a
journey.
very powerful point, because many people follow what other people do. They never ask themselves, why am I here? What's my purpose? And many successful business and successful people are the people who start businesses in line with their calling, in line with their purpose, why they were created. And they flourish because they do what they like. They do what they're naturally, it's naturally easy
Inclined
for them
to
to
do.
do.
Correct.
They don't have to struggle to understand. Mr. Dlamini.
Thank you, sir. Well, I'll quickly run over what my understanding of an entrepreneur is. Now, the word entrepreneur itself is probably derived from a French Latin word, which is pronounced, I believe, entreprendre, which means to undertake. So an entrepreneur is someone who undertakes something, is someone who starts something, is someone who embarks on something, right? And now, legend also has it that when they went to war in the days of old, there'll be the army right behind a guy who'll be riding at the front of the army, bearing the flags or the standards, as they are called, the banners, for those of you who read the Bible. Now, this guy was called an entrepreneur. He would ride at the front of the army. He would have no arms himself, but he'd be the first to meet the army of the opposing side. So this was a guy who obviously had to have a very, very bold heart, a guy who had to be very optimistic, who had to believe in the, you know, in the unlikely situation that when the war breaks out, he will not die, even though he was the least protected, but he would ride at the front. So this is the ideology, this is the philosophy, this is the mind, this is what sits at the heart of entrepreneurship. Someone who goes out boldly and undertakes something which has not been done before, believing against all odds that this person can succeed. And now when you take that kind of mindset, you bring it into business, that is what basically I believe at the center of it all, this is where entrepreneurship is defined.
Thank you. That's a very, very good definition. Mr. Magosha, we're coming back to deal with the other questions. Challenges, opportunities, gender issues.
What I've seen, thanks for the question, what I've seen in my experiences is that some people have not trained their mind to see opportunities. When you get in the habit of teaching yourself to identify opportunities, you start to identify opportunities literally everywhere you go. It's there at that point where you need to choose, this is my opportunity or this is not my opportunity. But when you learn to identify opportunities, you start to see them everywhere you go. And what the other challenges that I've seen is lack of self-belief. When you do not believe in yourself, no one else is going to believe in you. Even if the idea is brilliant, someone is going to steal it away from you and get rich right in front of your eyes, simply because you do not have faith in yourself. There is a lot of faith that needs to go into entrepreneurship, because whatever you do every day is based on the accuracy of your anticipation of tomorrow. That is faith.
Yeah. What about the issues of risk-taking? You know, the points you've said are very important, that focus, don't chase everything. And there are opportunities that are for you, but there are opportunities that are not for you. Don't waste time chasing everything. And the faith in self, and that you must never allow yourself to be pulled down by other people to say, no, you can't do it. You know, you don't have the background and you don't come from a family that is entrepreneurial. So there's always a starting point. You want to come in there?
To me, the greatest challenge, I'm going to talk about what I experienced when I started my business. I think I was 23 by then, and you just came out from university. I worked for a government department for a year. I joined a government law firm, Legal Aid South Africa, and then for a year again, you join a private firm. And from there, you come and say, this is what I have to do. I have to go out and open a firm and close a particular gap. And firstly, what I had to, the challenges that I had to experience were people talking you down and say, you won't make it. You don't have funds, and of which is true. And in the legal industry itself, it's unfortunate that banks are not very keen to fund, because you are selling yourself. You have to brand yourself first, and you cannot brand yourself while you're working for a company. You're working for that brand. Now, for you to be able to brand yourself so that you can be able to get funds, it's almost an impossible task,
Situation.
because I need to
Have
be able
funds
to
to
stand
set yourself
first,
up, yes,
so that I can brand myself.
Yes.
And you find out that you have to start from nothing, absolutely nothing. My experience is that I had to start an office with no, I didn't have an office space. I had to share an office space. I didn't have anything. All I had God, and I had the will and the desire to do what I wanted to do.
Well, when you have God, you have everything. Believe you me. That's a
Yeah.
good starting point. and the will and the desire and the ambition.
Yeah.
And the drive. And,
That's true.
You can't be deterred.
Yeah. So it's very difficult to come from, particularly when you're black, because a lot of people, and you're a woman, the legal profession itself, it's someone has to believe in you more than they believe in themselves, because if they cannot believe in you enough, it means they cannot trust you with the
And
work
create
of
opportunities
exactly.
for you. Yeah.
And even the challenges that you experience in the profession itself, people expect you, like some clients, when they get to your number, they'll call you and they'll ask to speak to Mr. Ndaba. Because it has to be a man.
It has to be Mr.
You
Ndaba.
go to court,
Yes,
and you have to stand in front of a magistrate, and some of them just look at you in that way of saying, why don't you go back home?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because
So there's still some discrimination and some hurdles that we need to deal with in the profession, especially in the
Yes,
legal
in our
profession.
profession, yes.
I agree. Can we give you a chance here to come in?
In terms of opportunities, you know, I like what Lot is saying, to say we haven't trained our minds to identify opportunities. And even when they're there, you are afraid to knock on the door because already you are expecting a no. And I'll go back to that, to what he also said again about vision. If you can't differentiate yourself, if you don't have a proper vision about your company, you know, you don't have a plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan, what are you selling?
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and who are you trying to convince?
Yeah.
You need to have your ducks in a row. It's difficult, yes, and it
Yes.
takes time. It took me 4 to 5 years to, you know, cut
Family
out a lot of
establish,
things in
yeah.
my company. I mean, I was touching and going any opportunity that would come. And I'm saying come because I was not going to knock for it. It was coming and I would just take it. Then, you know, you as you go in and you start engaging with other people, and you start engaging with clients, and you start engaging with potential investors and funders, then you realize that there's a lot of things that you need to fine
sort
tune in your
out.
business.
Yes, yeah.
And only then, when you start fine tuning and really choosing your battle, do you start realizing and identifying where
Yeah.
you want to be and the opportunities you want to be in.
Yeah.
And you know, with our industry, it's a very niche industry. I mean, it's interior design, it's architectural services, landscape design, and then with us, whatever we design, we then construct ourselves. So now I'm moving from a very frilly business, you know, nice to haves, into a male-dominated industry, which is construction. And you know, fortunately for me, I haven't really faced any negative vibes with dealing with other genders in the construction industry,
you've been
because
lucky.
we don't do brick and mortar
Yeah.
construction. We do the soft services that go into the interior fit outs. So
Okay.
I work with a lot of men, but I don't engage with other, you know, Goliaths in the
Yes,
industry.
yes, yeah.
In fact, I would see them as my partners. I would see them
Yes.
as an opportunity for me to knock on the door and say, look, I'm a young black woman
Yeah.
who owns this practice, and we've got CIDB grading level 4 for construction. Can we come in and work under your wing?
Okay.
So it's those kind of opportunities we would then tap into.
Thank you very much. I want to give you a minute to wrap up on this segment.
On the segment.
Mr. Dlamini.
Thank you, sir. There's something you mentioned in asking the question about risk in entrepreneurship, of course. It's integral to entrepreneurship. But then it's not just entrepreneurship, but it's life itself, because the minute you were born, it got risky for you.
Yes, yeah.
You could die at any time.
Yeah.
You know, you could only die at any time. You are already alive.
So there's no success without risk.
There's no success without
Any
risk.
undertaking, an entrepreneur must get there knowing that you are going to lose something, you are going to risk, but there are benefits.
You don't know what's going to happen, so you might
Exactly.
as well just go in. Story of the 4 lepers, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, thank you very much. We're going to end this segment here and take a short break and come back and continue with our discussion on entrepreneurship. Welcome back. We're talking about entrepreneurship, the challenges and the opportunities that young business people face when they start or when they grow their businesses. We are now joined by Mr. Thato Mwale. He's an entrepreneur and a director at Victor Soap Industries. Welcome, sir. And we're talking about entrepreneurship and the challenges that young people face. And what challenges are there when you pursue opportunities, whether tenders, whether from government or from private sector? What is it that are obstacles? Also in terms of accessing funding, finance, accessing technology, accessing infrastructure, and also how do you do a business plan? I know that many banks are looking for business plans, funding proposals. Many people are not trained to do this. How do you overcome that, and how do you, overcome those obstacles? You want to start? Let's start with you.
Hi, my name is Thato Mwale. I'm a director at Victor Soap Industries. It's basically a manufacturing company. We deal with industrial chemicals, mounting lubricants for the tire industry as well as the concrete piping industry. Our support industry is for retail. We do SABS-approved products that we supply to retail stores such as your Pick n Pays and your Checkers.
Thank you. Do you want to respond to some of the challenges that young entrepreneurs face?
Challenges that we face in terms of approaching businesses for opportunities, especially when approaching government. You basically need to know who you're dealing with. You need to understand their needs as well. Dealing with the procurement department of a government department, the difficulty is that you need to suss out what they are looking for.
Thank you. Anyone wants to come in here?
In terms of looking for opportunities, this is a habit that every entrepreneur needs to learn. Business is not done in the office. If you're sitting in the office, you're killing your business. Business is done out there at the soccer fields. Business is done out there at the restaurants. Business is done when you meet people. Go out, meet people. If you are caught up in sitting in the office and doing the admin, printing and binding, you are actually killing your business. Buy time. Get someone to do that and you go search for the business. When you are meeting with people and you ask them, what do you do? Ask them, how can I help you? That's where business opportunities arise. You don't know what the next person next to you is capable of. But once you give them a platform to actually share what they do, then you realize that you have a fit in their business, because business help each other.
No, you're making a very powerful point that business people are hunters. You know, you go hunt and until you find and you hustle. And the fact that you don't just sit down and wait for things to happen, you make them happen. But linked to that, it's a very important point that you link this to the power of networking, that your money is with the people. So the more you network, the more you're likely to get people who are going to give you opportunities and give you a breakthrough in life.
What I would like to say is, to me, it's also about positioning yourself to be able to talk to the opportunities that you are looking for. Like in the legal industry, we're providing services. A lot of us, particularly young black entrepreneurs, we've been taught that one man's show. You can do whatever you want with the money that is coming into the business, and you know, like that independence. It's good, but what I've noticed is that it's not taking anyone anywhere. If we can learn to, because a lot of black businesses, it's someone runs the office there, someone runs the office there, someone runs the office there, and as a result, we're not positioned to be able to touch everywhere we would like to touch. So if one is to be able to be in a point where you can talk to the opportunities that you're looking for. Like, let me give you an example. I run a firm. Let's say we approach government and say, we want to do work for you. And they say, how many directors or how many directors do you have in the company? And I say, I'm alone. To them, it's when they do their due diligence, it's more like, okay, what happens to you if you die tomorrow? Who's going to continue?
That's a risk,
and
for them. They're assessing
it's
the
a risk.
Yeah.
So I think what needs to be done, particularly with young, with us young upcoming entrepreneurs, is we have to network. We have to join forces if we can.
Yes.
To be able to be in a point where if
You're
you
stronger.
approach a potential client, particularly a corporate client, you're able to say, here we are, we armed, we're fully armed, and we're ready to give you
Provide
what
a
you want
service,
in exchange to what
It's a
we're
very,
looking
very
for.
important point you're making. You cannot survive, especially in the professional services, law firm, accounting firm, engineering firm, if you're a one-man show. You just cannot. You need to collaborate and partner with others. You bring different strengths, and clients, especially corporate clients and government clients, are looking for a team, you know, and because for them they assess risk, and there's a risk of performance if it's one person. You cannot have all the skills. You cannot be good at commercial, at tax law, at labor law, at all those kinds of things. So they want different expertise within one environment. Your Excellency.
You know, I guess that's where the idea of having a board comes in. You know, a lot of small companies don't have people that they account to, who they report to. I'm the board member, I'm the CEO, I'm the MD, I'm the ops direct, I'm everything. So anything that goes wrong, I don't report to anyone, I'm not accountable. And we need to change that mindset. We need to start collaborating and having partners, like you're saying, where, you know, you bring in someone to say, look, I need you to come and oversee a certain part in my business. You know, can it be pro bono, or is it through mentorship? Or, you know, we need to identify opportunities, not just for securing contracts and business, but for managing our operations.
And for growing
you
your
know,
business.
And for growing the business. How are you going to grow if you're alone?
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of the times we don't involve other people. We want this thing to ourselves. We want 100% of it. We don't want to involve other people. And at the end of the day, it kills us and we're going nowhere slowly.
Yeah.
So it's very important that we look at other, you know, people that we can involve in our businesses that can add value to our companies. And really, if you have the vision of growing a big company, then you won't see it as a threat having someone who's going to be on an advisory level, be it an attorney, be it, you know, a CFO from another company, or anyone to say, come in, let's collaborate, help me through this effort, because my growth and my success ultimately then becomes yours.
Exactly.
You know, it becomes a chain reaction.
The power of collaboration, but we've touched also on the power of mentorship, that many people make mistakes that could be solved quickly if they had mentors helping them.
Collaboration, working with other companies. I mean, you can't be a master of all arts. You need to identify your core competencies and work towards those by engaging and working with fellow competitors as well. I mean, fish for information. What is it that they are doing that you are not yet to do? You see, pick out, work with them, and not copy, but
learn from them.
Learn from them.
Yes,
Correct.
yeah. I think that's a very, very important point you're making. Many people fail to appreciate the power of collaboration, the power of networking, the power of mentorship. And people want to say, this is me, I've built this thing on myself. And instead of taking 2 years, you take 10 years. And making mistakes that other people have made and corrected and learned from them. And you could share their experiences. But also the point you've made of accountability. Getting people that you can account, having a board. And they don't own the company, but they advise you to say, you know what, check this, check that. And they're able to pick up phones and make some calls and open some doors for you and learn. But there's too much pride in many people to want to go out there and seek for help and seek for mentors. And I think this is where many things go wrong. Can we just discuss the issue of the business plan? How do people go about doing a business plan, and what is it that the banks are looking for to finance the businesses of young people, whether funding, development funding institutions, and what other challenges that young people face out there when they start businesses?
Thanks for the question. My understanding, because at Hill City Group we do business plans literally every single day. I've realized that doing a business plan is very simple. It's very easy. Even though a person has not been trained to do a business plan, they actually have all the information that needs to go into the business plan. There are two very important parts of this business plan. You need to know exactly and define very well and probably very narrowly what your product is and what your service is. Now, you need to be very clear about that. Then the second and the most important thing that you need to identify is who is your market, who is your customer. The rest is to make these two things happen. If we are talking about suppliers, they are supplying the product that you are supplying. If we are talking about operations manager, he's managing everything that is happening in the business. So the most important thing is your product and your service, and the second most important thing is your market. Now, let's talk about funding. Funding, the funder wants to know if you will be able to pay back the money and give them the return that they want. That is the most important thing to them, because they don't want to just donate the money away. Now, you need to prove it that you will give them back the money. How do you prove it? My product is solid, well-defined, and my market is well-defined. Once you got that, you are able to do your financial projections that are very reasonable, founded on very solid assumptions. And that is very important. The last thing, you need to know what is the mandate of your funder. I cannot go to someone who has a mandate to look after agriculture and ask for funding to do manufacturing. It's not their mandate. They will receive your proposal and they're like, sorry, we can't fund you. Not because it's bad, but you do not know what their mandate is. Know the mandate of the funder. And talking about putting your own equity, there are institutions that do fund you even though you are not even putting your own equity, like CIFA and NEF. The government has set up all these agencies to help the people that do not have the funding. because it's a lot of us in this country.
Thank you very much. I think you've simplified it. What are the components, core components of a business plan? Knowing your market and knowing your products and service and your pricing. Once that is sorted out, then the business comes together, and it's easy to do a business plan and to justify why you need so much money to fund that business and how it can be paid over what period of time.
I'm not so much of an expert when it comes to business plans.
Yeah.
Normally what I'll do, I'll go to consultants like
that's a very good point.
Hill City Group, because
of knowing your strengths and weaknesses,
yes.
what you can do, what you can't do,
yeah.
and then engage consultants.
Because I might have it in heart that this is what I want to see with this business. I want to see it transform from a caterpillar to a butterfly. But you find out that I don't have the strength to put it in paper. So I've learned to not to be a jack of all trade.
Exactly.
And focus on my core business and allow, I prefer outsourcing because he's going to make sure that this is a watertight business plan that touches all the important aspects of what it has to talk to and stuff. And yeah, because I'm in an industry where we're providing services, so we'll just outsource.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
Yeah.
So
No, I get your
much
point.
of-
You
yeah.
don't have to be a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
You must know what services you can offer and what you need to outsource to get other people, experts, to help you. And that's normal. It's you know, when you part of the business plan is doing a SWOT analysis, your strengths, your weaknesses, your threats and the opportunities. That's where you say, I want to do this, but personally I cannot do this. I need to find somebody to do that for me in the firm, because you cannot do everything. It's impossible. You want to come in there?
Sure. I always found business plan very tedious and frustrating to draw up. And that's why to date, you know, it's embarrassing to say, but I still don't have a solid business plan that I'm working from. And
But how do you access funding?
sure, it's been through private investment a lot of times.
Okay.
I've never gone to the bank, because the one time I went to the bank and, you know, they rejected the plan or they rejected my request for funding, then I thought, these banks are not very helpful after all.
What you're saying to us is that banks are not the only source of funding.
They're not.
People can go to private investors, whether relatives, whether friends, whether colleagues, to say, chip in, invest and take so much, so much percentage of equity. Then the risk is shared, and people bring in other skills. Do you have a point to make there?
Yes, with me being in manufacturing, setting up a business plan, you need to identify the equipment that you're going to need. You need to do your research. You can't just put it down on paper. Test the markets, test your potential customers, ask them, do a survey, find out if they would be interested in such a product or a service. You can't just set up a business plan of assumption and come with figures. I mean, your figures are very important when it comes to your business plan.
Yeah.
So I would say, go to a supplier. If it's international, do your research on the internet, get their information, put that into your business plan. Show them that I need to invest in X amount, this type of equipment for me to set up my business.
Exactly. Now, your parting shots, 1 minute each, just to your final word of advice to the viewers at home.
Thank you, sir. What I can conclude with is that as entrepreneurs, you must have an understanding of how things work. Do not ride on 120 miles an hour, not knowing exactly where you are going. Have an understanding of how things work. It saves time.
Yeah.
Focus on what you do best. Outsource the business planning to me.
If you can't do a business plan.
Exactly. And my sister, Thato, you do have a business plan. It's just not put on paper.
Yeah, it's here in your head. Yeah, exactly.
It's in your mind. And it is even easier to sit with a business plan expert and share the story with them.
Yeah.
And then they put it on a paper for
you. Yes,
and
exactly.
then 2 years down the line, you ask, have I been walking on the path that I said I would be walking? Thank you, sir.
Great.
What I would say to young entrepreneurs like us is that it's also very important to get financial education. Like, be financial literate. I once faced a challenge where I had to do my books for the first time. And the bookkeeper had to come, do whatever that is doing. I did not even understand what's happening there. The auditor comes, you know, I just see a lot of numbers because I'm a lawyer. Lawyers and numbers are not friends. But then it kills your business in a sense that you just see numbers. You don't know whether your business is doing well or it needs help. Because a lot of us, you find out that you just have a will, a desire, a drive to say, I'm getting into this business, or a skill as well. Yeah. But then you are not so much clued up in running a business, which is something that I think it's necessary for each and every entrepreneur.
Business, must have.
Yeah, you must have
feel of numbers.
Yeah,
you cannot outsource numbers, even if you've got auditors. But
you have to
must
understand
know how you
them.
make money and how you spend it.
Exactly.
Your 1 minute, actually 30 seconds. 30 seconds. My time is finished.
It's not, the journey is not easy. And for anyone who wants to become an entrepreneur or walk the path, know that there's a whole lot of emotional baggage that you carry. It's really tough. It's not easy. And, be ready and be prepared for the journey.
And work hard.
Work hard, and, you need a lot of support from a lot of people. So open up your heart and your mind for others to come in. Yeah.
Your last parting shot?
I would say just go out there before you start your business. Work on the road. Don't focus on setting up your plant, furniture. Start with your customers. Start with your relationships with your customers and your suppliers. And then only you can work on setting up your business.
Customer is king.
King.
You have no business without customers.
Precisely.
And that's very, very important. Thank you very much for your advice, and thank you very much for your time and the inputs that you've given in order to advise the viewers at home. I'm sure they greatly appreciate it. They must have picked up a lot of skills and advice from you. And to you, the viewers at home, we want to thank you for tuning in and for participating in this interesting episode about opportunities, business opportunities for young entrepreneurs. If you have questions or inputs or suggestions, you can visit our website. It's www.globalbusinessroundtable.com. www.globalbusinessroundtable.com. You may also email us at comments@anewthing.tv. comments@anewthing.tv. Remember at all times to seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. All these things shall be added unto you. That's Matthew 6 verse 33. See you again next time, and God bless.